My girlfriend screamed, "You're too clingy. Give me space." Because I asked where she was at 3 a.m. I said, "Okay." I blocked her number, packed my stuff while she slept, and moved to another state without a word. 3 years later, she found me, and then, I, 26 male, still remember the exact moment everything broke. It was 3 a.m. on a Thursday. I woke up and she wasn't in bed. Not the first time, but something felt off. Her phone was going crazy with notifications downstairs. I texted, "Hey, you okay? Where are you?" Simple question, right? Worried boyfriend checking in at 3 a.m. when his girlfriend of 2 years vanished without a word. My phone exploded with a call 30 seconds later. "Are you serious right now?" She was screaming, actually screaming. "You're checking up on me at 3 a.m.? Do you have any idea how suffocating you are? I just woke up and you weren't here." I was worried. "No, you're controlling. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're always breathing down my neck, always asking questions, always needing to know everything. I can't do this anymore." My brain was still foggy from sleep. "Do what?" "You're too clingy. I need space. God, why can't you just give me space?" The line went dead. I sat there in our apartment, in the dark, phone in my hand. 2 years together, living together for 8 months. And I was too clingy for asking where she was at 3 a.m. Something in me just clicked off, like a switch. I looked around the apartment. Most of the furniture was mine from my previous place. The lease was in my name because her credit was garbage. I paid 70% of everything because she was between jobs for 6 months. "Okay," I said out loud to the empty room. She came home at 6:23 a.m. I pretended to be asleep. She slipped into bed like nothing happened, smelling like cigarettes, and something else I didn't want to identify. Her phone never stopped buzzing. I waited until she was completely passed out. Then I got to work. Called my boss at 8 a.m. "Family emergency. Need to take my vacation days starting today." He was cool about it, asked if everything was okay, told him I'd explain later. Didn't really plan to. Called my buddy who owed me like 5 favors. "I need your truck and your muscles today. I'll pay for gas and buy you whatever you want." He showed up at 10 a.m. She was still dead asleep, probably hungover from whatever the heck she was doing all night. We moved fast. Every piece of furniture I owned went into that truck. My clothes, my electronics, my kitchen stuff, everything. My buddy didn't ask questions, just kept loading boxes. I left her stuff. Her clothes, her makeup, that expensive hair straightener she just had to have, that I paid for. Even left the bed since she was sleeping in it. Not my problem anymore. Took all my documents, birth certificate, passport, everything. Canceled my name from the utilities right there on my phone while my buddy drove the last load to his place for storage. Went to the bank. We had kept separate accounts, thank God, but I'd been Venmoing her money for groceries and gas every week. Canceled my Venmo, deleted the app, changed my phone number at the carrier store. New SIM card, new number. Done. Then I did something crazy. Remember how I said I'd been planning to propose? Yeah, I was that stupid. Had a ring and everything. $4,200 I'd saved up over a year. Went straight back to the jeweler, explained the situation. Took a hit on the return, but walked out with $3,100 in cash. Used that money and my savings to put a deposit on an apartment in another state. Had a job offer there I'd turned down 6 months ago because she said she couldn't leave her friends. Called them back. Position was still open. Started in 2 weeks. The whole operation took 11 hours. By 9 p.m. I was gone. No note, no explanation, no goodbye. She wanted space? She got infinite space. Blocked her number before the new SIM card even activated. Blocked her on everything, social media, email, all of it. Blocked her friends, her sister, everyone. Slept at my buddy's place that night. He kept looking at me like I'd lost it. "You good, man?" "Yeah," I said. And weirdly I was. Felt nothing. Just done. Drove 15 hours the next day to my new city. Started my new job 2 weeks later. New apartment, new life, new phone number. Completely clean break. That was 3 years ago. Update 1. Life was actually pretty decent. The new job paid better, made new friends. Started seeing someone about 8 months ago. Nothing serious but healthy. Went to therapy for a while, worked through my trust issues. Bought decent furniture. Lived alone and liked it. Then last Tuesday, I'm at a coffee shop near my office doing some work on my laptop. Someone sits down across from me. "So this is where you've been hiding." I looked up. my ex-girlfriend. Sitting there like we'd just seen each other yesterday, not 3 years ago. My brain short-circuited. What? Took me forever to find you. You just vanished, changed your number, deleted everything. Do you have any idea what you put me through? I closed my laptop. How did you find me? Your friend finally told me where you went. Took some convincing, but I can be very persuasive. She smiled like this was cute. We need to talk. No, we don't. I started packing my stuff. She grabbed my wrist. Yes, we do. You left. No explanation. No nothing. You just disappeared like a coward. You told me I was too clingy and needed space. I gave you space. That's not what I meant, and you know it. I was just stressed that night. At 3 a.m., when you weren't home? Her face twitched. I was with friends. Girls' night ran late. Cool. Enjoy your space. I pulled my wrist back and stood up. Wait. She stood too, voice getting loud. People were staring. I'm pregnant. The coffee shop went quiet, or maybe that was just my ears ringing. Congratulations. I'm sure the father will be thrilled. You're the father. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Math doesn't work. We broke up 3 years ago. That would make your pregnancy roughly 1,095 days along. Pretty sure that's a record. Don't be stupid. It's from before. I didn't find out until... Stop. I held up my hand. I'm not doing this. Whatever scam you're running, find someone else. It's not a scam. The baby is 2. I have a 2-year-old son and you're his father. Okay, that changed things. Not that I believed her, but now there was a timeline that technically worked. Show me. What? Show me a picture, birth certificate, something. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking, showed me a photo. Kid looked like any random 2-year-old. Brown hair, blue eyes, could have been anyone's. Birth certificate says father unknown, she added. I didn't know where you were, but he's yours. I know he is. DNA test. Set it up. If the kid is mine, we'll figure it out. If not, lose my number. Again. Are you serious? After everything you put me through, you're questioning. You showed up after 3 years claiming I have a kid. Yeah, I'm questioning it. DNA test or we're done here. She went quiet, doing that thing where her jaw clenched. Fine, but when it comes back positive, you owe me 3 years of child support, backdated. If it comes back positive, lawyers will figure out what I owe, not you. I walked out, got in my car and sat there for 20 minutes, hands shaking. A kid? After 3 years, the timing was technically possible. We'd broken up right before I left, so if she was already pregnant when I ghosted, no, something felt wrong. Really wrong. I called my buddy from back home. Hey, weird question. Did my ex ever call you asking where I moved? Dude, she called me like 80 times over 6 months. I told her I didn't know. You said she finally convinced you. Pause. No, I never told her anything. Haven't heard from her in like 2 years. So she lied about how she found me. Great start. Update 2. She texted me from a number I didn't have blocked. DNA test scheduled for Saturday 2 p.m. Be there or I'm filing for child support without you. Cool. More threats. I responded, send me the address and lab name, I'll verify it's legitimate. She sent a place I'd never heard of. Googled it. Quick results DNA lab. Fast, affordable, confidential. Red flags everywhere. Website looked sketchy. Reviews were either 5 stars or 1 star. Nothing in between. I called a lawyer friend. Don't go to that lab, he said immediately. Schedule your own test through a certified facility. Court-admissible results only. So I texted her back. Not using that lab. Here's a list of 3 court-approved facilities. Pick one, and I'll meet you there. Her response, are you serious? I already paid for this one. You can't just change everything to suit you. You're so controlling. There it was. That word again, controlling. Court-approved lab or no test? Your choice. She called me 12 times. Didn't answer. Then her mother called from a number I also didn't have blocked. You need to stop playing games with my daughter. She's been through hell raising your child alone while you lived it up in another state. Hi. This is the first I'm hearing about any child. I'm happy to take a DNA test through a legitimate facility. If you know where I am, you know I have a job and stability. If the child is mine, I'll handle my responsibilities through lawyers and courts. She doesn't want lawyers. She just wants you to be a father. Then she should have told me 3 years ago. Now everything goes through official channels. If you'll excuse me. You owe her. Do you know what she went through? Pregnant and abandoned, she had to move back in with us. She couldn't work. Her whole life fell apart because of you. She told me I was too clingy and needed space. I gave her exactly what she asked for. She was scared. She didn't know how to tell you about the baby. You traumatized her with your jealous, controlling behavior. This was fascinating in a horrible way. 3 years later, and suddenly I was the villain. The controlling, jealous boyfriend who traumatized her. Not the guy who got screamed at for asking a simple question at 3 a.m. "Ma'am, I'm hanging up now. Tell your daughter to pick one of the labs I sent or we're done." She picked one. Finally. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Court-approved facility with proper chain of custody procedures. I got there 30 minutes early. She showed up 10 minutes late with her mother and a guy. Boyfriend? Baby daddy? No idea. The kid was there. Cute kid, actually. Looked tired and confused. Kept asking, "Who's that about me?" "This is someone we need to talk to," she told him. The lab tech explained the process. Cheek swabs, proper documentation, results in 3 to 5 business days. The kid started crying when they tried to swab him. She got annoyed. "Stop being difficult. Just open your mouth." The kid cried harder. I don't have experience with kids, but even I knew you can't just yell at a crying 2-year-old and expect compliance. The tech offered to try again in a few minutes. We waited in awkward silence. Her mother kept glaring at me. The boyfriend kept scrolling his phone. Finally got the swabs done. I provided mine. Signed all the paperwork. They said results would be emailed. As I was leaving, she followed me to my car. "When this comes back positive, we need to talk about money." "Through lawyers." "Stop saying that. I don't want lawyers involved. I just want you to help support your son. If he's mine, I will. Properly. Legally. Not whatever under-the-table arrangement you're trying to set up." "You're still controlling everything. This is exactly why I needed space from you." I turned around. "You vanished at 3 a.m. and screamed at me for asking where you were. Then I left and you had 3 years to reach out through legal channels if there was actually a child. You chose now. You chose showing up randomly. You chose a sketchy DNA lab first. So yeah, I'm controlling the situation by making sure everything is legitimate and documented. Deal with it. You're going to regret this. When you see how much child support costs, when you see what you missed, you're going to regret being such a jerk. Maybe. Or maybe I'll regret wasting 2 years on someone who thought screaming at me at 3 a.m. was appropriate communication." Her mother came out then. "Leave my daughter alone. You've done enough damage." I got in my car and drove away. Spent the rest of the weekend feeling weird. If the kid was mine, my life was about to change dramatically. If he wasn't, this was an insane scam attempt. Wednesday afternoon, the email came. I was in a meeting, but I excused myself to the bathroom to read it. Results. 0% probability of paternity. Not mine. Not even close. 0%. I forwarded the email to the lawyer friend. "What now?" He called me immediately. "She tried to commit paternity fraud. You could potentially press charges, but honestly, just keep this documentation and block her again. If she tries anything legal, you have proof." She wasted my time, my money for the test. She lied. "Yeah, but engaging further just invites more drama. You have proof the kid isn't yours. That's all you need." He was right, but I was angry. 3 years of peace, and she showed up to try to trap me with a kid that wasn't even mine. I forwarded her the results without comment. 5 minutes later, my phone started blowing up. Different numbers, all calling. I answered one. "You sabotaged the test," she was shrieking. "You paid them off or something. There's no way. It's a court-approved facility with chain of custody documentation. I didn't touch anything. The kid isn't mine. We're done." "No. We are not done. You owe me for the 3 years I spent. You spent 3 years lying. Goodbye." I hung up and blocked every new number that called. Changed my number again that afternoon. New SIM card, new number, messaged only the people who needed it. Cost me $35 in an hour of my time. Worth it to never hear from her again. Update 3. Thought that was the end. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. 2 weeks later, I got served at work. A process server showed up at my office with papers. Lawsuit. She was suing me for emotional distress and financial damages stemming from abandonment during a vulnerable time. She was claiming $45,000. Broke it down as $15,000 for emotional trauma from abandonment, $10,000 for medical expenses related to stress-induced conditions, $20,000 for lost wages and career opportunities due to psychological damage. My boss was super cool about the process server thing, but I was humiliated. Got served at work. In front of colleagues, I immediately called a lawyer. Real one this time, not just my friend. Attorney specialized in this kind of garbage. She read the papers and actually laughed. This is one of the weakest cases I've seen. You weren't married, you weren't living together under common law, and you had no legal obligation to notify her of your relocation. She's grasping at straws. Can she actually win? Highly unlikely. But we need to respond and defend. It'll cost you some money, but probably less than engaging in this circus would cost emotionally. Cost me $2,500 up front for the lawyer. Whatever. I wanted this done properly. The lawyer sent a response that included the DNA test showing the child wasn't mine, documentation that she tried to use a non-certified lab first, text records of her calling me controlling, I'd kept screenshots, proof that I'd maintained steady employment and had legitimate reasons for relocating. We also filed a counterclaim for attempted paternity fraud and harassment. Her lawyer, some discount guy she found, tried to argue that I owed her because I'd been financially supporting her during the relationship and she'd become dependent on that support. My lawyer's response basically said, helping pay bills during a relationship doesn't create a legal obligation after it ends. People break up. That's life. The case dragged on for 6 weeks. Discovery was interesting. She had to provide evidence of her stress-induced medical conditions. Submitted some therapy bills and receipts for anxiety medication. My lawyer found her social media. She'd forgotten to make it private. Posts from 2 weeks after I left showed her at parties, concerts, bars. Living my best life finally, was one caption. Another, single and free. Thank God that's over. Didn't exactly scream traumatized by abandonment. We showed up to court for the hearing. She wore a conservative dress, looked sad, kept dabbing her eyes. Her mother was there for support. The boyfriend wasn't. Her lawyer went first. Whole sob story about how I'd emotionally abused her during our relationship by being possessive and controlling, then cruelly abandoned her when she needed me most. The judge asked, did your client ever attempt to contact him through proper legal channels? File a missing person report? Her lawyer stuttered. Well, no, but did she know where he worked, where he grew up, any family contact information? She tried to find him, but he'd blocked her. Blocked her on social media is not the same as being unreachable through legal means. Continue. They tried to make the pregnancy thing work even though DNA proved the kid wasn't mine. Claimed I'd caused her emotional distress during that vulnerable time, regardless of paternity. Judge was not impressed. Then my lawyer presented our side. Clean, simple timeline. We dated. We lived together. I paid most bills. She stayed out until 6 a.m. and screamed at me for asking where she was at 3 a.m. I legally ended our cohabitation by removing my belongings from my apartment. I relocated for a job opportunity. 3 years later, she ambushed me with a false paternity claim. When proven false, she filed a frivolous lawsuit. My lawyer presented the social media posts showing her living her best life weeks after I left. Presented text records of her calling me controlling. Presented the DNA results. The judge looked tired. Ma'am, people end relationships, sometimes suddenly. That's not illegal. You were not married. You had no children together. He had no legal obligation to maintain contact or provide support after ending the relationship. Your claim of abandonment has no legal merit. But he just left. No explanation. I had rights. The judge actually removed his glasses. You had the right to a relationship that both parties wanted to be in. He exercised his right to end it. Case dismissed. Then he looked at our counterclaim. As for attempted paternity fraud, I'm inclined to believe there was an attempt to deceive. However, I don't see malicious intent that rises to criminal level. I'm ordering the plaintiff to pay defendant's legal fees, $2,500. She gasped. I don't have $2,500. You should have thought about that before filing a frivolous lawsuit. You have 90 days. Dismissed. Outside the courthouse, her mother started yelling at me. You ruined her life. She had to move back home. She's drowning in debt, all because you couldn't handle a real woman. Your daughter screamed at me for asking where she was at 3 a.m., lied about having my child, tried to scam me with a fake DNA test, and then sued me when that didn't work. She ruined her own life. I just refused to be part of it. She loved you. She loved the 70% of bills I paid. There's a difference. My lawyer pulled me away before I could say more. Don't engage, you won, walk away. In the car, I felt empty. Not happy, not sad, just tired. This whole thing had cost me time, money, emotional energy. 3 years of peace disrupted because she thought she could manipulate me one more time. The $2,500 in legal fees she owed me, never saw a dime. She filed for bankruptcy 6 months later, found out through my lawyer friend, who kept tabs on the case number out of curiosity. Last I heard through the grapevine, mutual friend who didn't know our history, she'd moved back to our hometown, was engaged to some guy, and was apparently still telling people I'd abandoned her when she needed me most. Some people never learn. Never take accountability. Just stay bitter and entitled forever. As for me, changed my number one more time after the court case. Deleted all social media except a private account with like 15 people on it. Made it as hard as possible to be found. Been with my girlfriend for a year now. Healthy relationship. Actual communication. When she's out late, she texts me. When I ask where she is, she tells me without screaming about being controlled. Turns out that's possible. Who knew? Never told her the full story. Maybe someday. For now, it's just a weird chapter in my past. The time my ex tried to baby trap me 3 years after I ghosted her, and somehow I ended up in court for abandonment. Still have the court documents. Kept them, just in case she ever tries again. Proof that I owed her nothing then. Owe her nothing now. You want space? Be careful what you wish for. Some people take you seriously.